And we are now recording. Wonderful. Okay, so welcome everybody and Vasiliki. So thank you so much for joining us today to share your light, your wisdom, and your radiant smile.
Thank you.
Yeah, so nice to have you
My
here.
pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and it's so important. I mean, the message and what you're going to share with us tonight is so important because a lot of people are, a lot of people are suffering. I mean, I guess that's the best way to say it. I mean, suffering not only physically, suffering emotionally, mentally. A lot of people are depressed, anxious. And so your interview is going to be like a wonderful healing ray of light
Well,
for
thank you.
all of us.
Thank you.
so so today we're going to start with you guiding us on a nice little meditation just to have us centered, to be kind of grounded, to really be present with you.
All righty. So, um, can you hear me? Because I'm losing you a little bit.
Yes,
Can
no,
you
we can
just
hear
hear me?
you.
Okay. All righty. So, what I'm going to do to begin is I want everyone to just close your eyes and take a nice deep breath in, bringing your attention to the breath coming in through your nose and out through your mouth. Take another nice deep breath in and blow it out. Using your breath to bring you to the here and now. Our breath is a very powerful tool. It can break through stress, chaos, confusion, and yet we forget how powerful it is. So I invite you at this moment to just feel the power of your breath. Nice, deep breath in through your nose. Out through your mouth. As you inhale, visualize you pulling all the different aspects of yourself back into your physical vessel. Take a nice deep breath in. As you pour yourself in, feel yourself getting anchored to the seat of your pelvis. Inhale. Go down to the seat of your pelvis as you hold your breath. And now exhale. And just notice how much calmer you get with just a couple deep breaths. One of the most powerful tools we have is our inner wisdom, and your breath will always bring you to your inner wisdom. And as we begin this journey into the roads of the unknown, into the storm of transformation, it's extremely important to stay anchored and grounded to your inner light. So I invite you to visualize a beautiful white light flowing down through the top of your head, down to the seat of your pelvis. And visualize this as a tube of light. This tube of light is your truth. Your truth is where you anchor your life purpose and where you express the essence of who you are. And when you are living in your purpose and when you are expressing the essence of who you are, this light is straight, strong, and guiding you. But there are belief systems and there are old patterns that we carry in our energy field that puts holes in this tube of light. So I invite you to look at this light and use your breath. If there's any gray matter, If it's dull, if it's too thin, use your breath and make it about 6 inches round. And as you use your breath, bring the breath to any dark spots, any gray matter, and use your breath to release it from your truth. These dark spots are situations in your life causing stress, distress, or unhappiness. For when you are in your truth, you are fueled with joy and passion. And it is external belief system, external forces that keep you from your divine joy. But your breath will always bring you back to it. Use your breath. Take a nice deep breath in and blow it out. And now I invite you to open your energy field and allow me in. Allow me to come into your energy field with my love from my heart. I want you to feel the love flowing from my heart into your heart and filling any spaces or places within that white light that aren't bright, straight, and strong. Allow the divine love to flow into your being, filling you with divine love, filling you with divine light, healing those places and spaces within your being that are keeping you from being in your truth, in your happiness, in your joy. Each of you is a beacon of light, a beacon of divine light. Divine light is divine joy. It is what carries your divine love out to the world and brightens the space around you. Visualize that beautiful beacon of light now flowing from your heart as we send that beautiful love and light out to all our loved ones and all beings on the earth, that all beings may find their light, may find their truth, their strength and their joy. No matter how difficult situations may get, when you bring yourself back to this light, you can always find the good in everything. For there is always good. Breathe that in. Breathe in the healing energy. Breathe in the strength. Breathe in the love of the divine. Know that as you anchor yourself into this light, that you are anchoring yourself as a lighthouse of joy and love. And as the dark days ahead of us emerge through the chaos and the transformation, know that you will be the strength. You will be the joy. You will be the change that we have prayed for. For each of us took part in this pandemic. We all had a wish, and the divine took each of our wishes and created a list. I wish I had more time for friends. I wish I had more time for my loved ones. I wish I didn't have to be at this job so long. I wish I had time to organize my life. Well, the divine heard it all and said, hey, here it is. I can take care of everybody all at one time. So when we look at this pandemic as a gift of change, then we can utilize this time to go inward and to make the change. For the changing the world is simply done by changing you, by honoring the spirit within you and honoring the changes that your spirit is asking for. It is not just about your mind. It is not just about your emotions. It is much bigger. It is about what your spirit has yearned for. Your spirit yearns for oneness. It yearns to feel the love of all that is. And we have an opportunity to use this pandemic as a time of great awakening, an awakening for the planet, to feel the great love of oneness, to come together in oneness. For sometimes as humans, we have to have things taken away so we can see the beauty that they had given us. So I invite you to shift your perception and see the beauty and the transformation of this pandemic. And know that each of you on this call are being called to be beacons of light during this beautiful time of transformation. Breathe that in. I now invoke the divine conscious creation formula to transform the perception of hard times to times of growth, for obstacles as opportunities. May we all see our strength. May we all share our love. And may we all find our way to oneness. Take a nice deep breath in. And exhale. Gently feel the shift. Feel yourself getting lighter. Look into your light. Go into your tube. Feel into your truth. Feel into your joy. And feel into the love. Take a nice deep breath in. And blow it out. Visualize your toes turning into roots of a tree, sinking deep into the earth, down into the heart of the mother. Feel beautiful golden light flowing from the heart of the mother, up from the center of the earth, up through your toes, and into your solar plexus. Take another deep breath in and feel the beautiful divine light coming down through your crown, down through the top of your head, a beautiful golden and pink light flowing in through the top of your head and down to your solar plexus, meeting at your lower dantian just below your navel. Feel the divine heaven and the divine earth gathering together and anchoring in your lower dantian, supported, loved. Take another deep breath in and blow it out. Get to wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Take another deep breath in and blow it out. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Wow, thank you for that. What a what an amazing guided meditation.
Thank you.
Um, I think the pandemic doesn't have any chance against that kind of guided meditation. Very wow, so comprehensive and so deep, and you hit upon so many different aspects and facets of the healing journey at this time.
Mm.
So, Vasiliki, maybe at this time, I'm sure people are very interested. Maybe even people that know you are interested in hearing a bit about your journey. I mean, how did you become um, this incredible medicine woman? And so maybe you could talk a bit about, and maybe even explain a bit about what a medicine woman is for some of us that don't know what that means.
Okay, I think I can do that all together.
Very
So,
good.
my journey really began the day I was born. I was born awakened, just like everyone else, and I had a mom that was super busy, so she never shut me down. So when I
Mm,
played with my imaginary friends, she let me. And as I became a teenager, I knew where to go, what to do, what not to do, and what everybody else was doing. And no one ever asked how I knew. And I
mm,
just thought everybody had somebody up there looking after them, is what I would say. Oh, somebody up there is on overtime. And then as a as a young girl, I started telling other people what was going on with them. And oh, you better go to the doctors. You're like, your gallbladder's no good. And they would come back and say, yeah, it was my gallbladder. But no one ever asked how I knew. They all just told me, one day you should be a doctor. You're really good at this. And then as the years went by, I got married, I had children, and my son, when he was 2, he was diagnosed as hyperactive ADD. And that kind
mm,
of sent me on my journey to learn more about natural medicine, about um, foods, how foods affect you, and
mm,
meditation. And everywhere I went, I was gifted to a journey to meet someone else. And everyone would tell me, you have to meet this person, you have to meet that person. And it eventually led me all over the world to meet some really amazing medicine people that I trained under, that I now consider my family and I love dearly. And I eventually just said, everything that I received, I want to share with the world.
beautiful,
So here
beautiful.
I am. So as a medicine woman, for
Hmm.
many years I worked and I didn't really have a name. I just worked. And a lot of my friends are also healers, and they would hear, I'm a this kind of healer, that kind of healer. I can do this, I can do that. And I'd always say to my guys, like, well, who am I? What do I do? And they just say, you just do, just keep doing, just keep doing, and then one day I sat and I had this dialogue with with my higher self. And I'm like, okay, so this morning I helped a client deliver her home birth. And this
Mm, wow.
afternoon I helped another client um, birth into heaven and out of here. And I just hung up on the phone with someone, who was having trouble with their hyperactive child. Okay, like, so what do I really do?
Mm,
Who am I?
mm,
And what do I really specialize in? And that's when I heard I specialize in spirit. I work with the spirit. I had named my
beautiful.
business Teaching Spirit.
Yeah.
And when I asked, they said, that is your name. You are Teaching Spirit.
Mm,
You are the medicine woman. You are the medicine woman of spirit. So
mm,
doctors work with the physical vessel. Psychiatrists work with your mind or your emotions, and I work with your spirit. And my belief is that when the spirit is strong, everything else will follow. So
wow.
no matter what obstacle we have in our life, whether it's, a medical situation, a marital situation, or a work situation, no matter what it is, it's your strong spirit that gets you through. So when people say, "What
Beautiful.
do I do?" I say, "I work with your spirit." That's what I do.
Wonderful. I love that. I love that when you said, working with the spirit, and when the spirit is in harmony, everything else kind of falls into place.
Right.
And that's such a powerful message nowadays because we totally don't have that viewpoint. We're
Right.
very kind of physical or mental, but the spirit has kind of like, been left on the back burner.
Yeah, it's
Maybe
been
it's not even on
forgotten.
the stove anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not even on the stove anymore.
Right.
So that's wonderful to hear that. Now, compared to other spiritual teachers or other healers, how would you say do you work uniquely? What makes your kind of practice unique? Also, you have, I believe, a couple of retreat centers as well, which
Mhm.
is wonderful. So, how do you kind of approach this healing of spirit um, in your own manner? What makes you kind of unique versus other spiritual traditions or other spiritual teachers?
Well, I think what makes me unique is that I followed my own path.
Hmm.
Most of my teachers are from the other side.
Yeah.
So, and I still rely on them. And I
Mm.
believe that we all are learning every day. So when I work with someone, I don't have one standard system that someone taught me that I follow.
Yeah.
I
Interesting.
connect I connect with a higher spirit, and I let spirit guide me with their spirit.
Yeah.
And that so I don't put any, but nobody's in a box. As a matter of fact,
Mm.
I'm here to get you out of that box.
Mm.
And many times I work with a lot of other healers. A lot of my referrals come from other doctors, social workers. I kind of say I get people when they get to the end, when they're there and they don't know where to turn, or they have that tough decision to make and they can't make it. When someone is
Mm.
really stuck, that's when your spirit is really like curled up in a ball somewhere and saying, "Someone please come help me."
Mm.
And I feel that's my specialty, is I go in and I pull that spirit that's curled up in the corner and I say, "No, you come here, come out. Let's see where your light is.
Yeah.
Let's see what dimmed your light, and let's change that." So I don't work specifically on the situation. I work on the,
Hmm.
the whole big picture.
Mm.
And I feel that,
Fantastic.
yeah, I feel part of my gift is that I have the ability to see the bigger picture. I have that all seeing eye of the eagle.
Beautiful. Beautiful. That's really a unique gift that you have to do that. And
Thank
I
you.
love it when you mention, working outside the box
Hmm.
because so many of us are. I mean, granted, working in a tradition can be very powerful. That's true. But
Hmm.
a lot of the problems that we're seeing in the world are because people are so much within a particular tradition or within a box in terms of
Right.
spirituality that it
Hmm.
causes conflicts with other traditions, which is
Right.
very sad.
Right.
So it's wonderful to hear that you're able to kind of draw from wisdom, from spirit directly, and be free to work as you're directed to and not confined necessarily to one particular tradition. So that's fantastic. Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you.
So now, in terms of this pandemic, how has this pandemic kind of affected you, affected your family, affected your community? What has been the impact for kind of your world in terms of the
So
pandemic?
I'm going to say it's been a pretty long journey. We were together
Mm.
at the beginning of it, and
Yeah.
I really felt in the beginning as healers, we were really called to step up to the plate and support.
Mm.
And I really focused on that. I focused on how can I support this, not
Yeah.
not how can I separate it.
Mm.
How do we come together, and how do we
Yeah.
work on this together? And I spent a lot of time in meditation and really going to a higher place to say, what is the bigger picture and how do I help?
Mm. Right.
And so what I kept hearing was, just keep giving people hope. Keep guiding people to go inward. It's a time to go inward. We've all been asked to be separated and be alone for a reason. It was
Yeah.
giving us this beautiful opportunity to get to know more about yourself. And so in that time, I really felt it was important to help people to see how powerful you can become when you go inward and you really do connect with yourself. And I think it's so beautiful that I see so many of my clients that started out kind of like a train wreck and wanting to, hide in their closet and not eat for 6 months, you
Yeah.
know, saying, wow, I really found my strength in this. I've learned self-care. I've been reintroduced to who I am and who I was and who I want to be.
Mm,
And it's a beautiful
fantastic.
time to really utilize, to say, or if I didn't like my career or I didn't like my job, now's a good time to look into that when you're not at your job.
Mm,
And now is a time to say, well, I really want to spend more time with my family. Well, you can. We have Zoom.
mm,
There's so many different things we've learned that we can do if we really want it.
yeah.
And I feel that it was nice to see as you drove down. I mean, it's getting a little chilly now, but it was nice to see in the summer you were driving down the block and it felt like we were going back in time, because when I was growing up, people sat outside on the curb with their chairs and talked in the winter,
Hmm.
and that was all gone. People inviting each other to each other's backyards for barbecues, that kind
Mm,
of ended. We all went to work, came home, walked in our house, and went in our own little castle.
yeah.
So it was nice to see people supporting one another, being out there and reconnecting, people waving hello, people talking to one another in the store. So there are little things that we lost, that we don't
Mm,
take for granted now.
yeah.
And I think it's beautiful to see that. And it also gave people the opportunity to see how many of our societal beliefs, I'll call them,
Yeah.
were nothing but lies.
Mm,
And that in time of truth all will be revealed. Well,
hmm.
time of truth is here, and that includes us seeing our own truth.
Yes. Right. Uh-huh.
And to me, that's the best way to strengthen your spirit, is to get in truth with yourself. And whether you signed up for it or not, the pandemic kind of shook many of us into that place.
Yeah.
So if you can look at it from a different place, when you can say, okay, so the pandemic created this obstacle for me.
Hmm.
Let me sit with that obstacle and see the opportunity in it, because there's an opportunity in every obstacle.
That's fabulous how you just kind of turn the whole sort of pandemic upside down, which is really fantastic because
That's my job.
so because so many of us are really became frozen.
Hmm.
We became frozen in fear, frozen in with worry and anxiety. And you're saying no, no, you are spirit, that you are powerful, and to take this to bring out the beauty and the love within you. So you're like totally coming in from a different angle, which is so
Absolutely.
wonderful,
Well,
so
also
marvelous.
the biggest gift of the pandemic was fear,
Mm.
because we were ruled by fear and control. So somebody's singing for us. So the pandemic is really giving us the quick road from fear and control to acceptance and compassion.
Mm. Yes.
So it's a much easier road when you can accept that it is what it is, and I'm going to have compassion around all that I want to judge. Instead of judging, fill it with compassion. So if you want to judge the actions of anybody out there, if politicians, whoever it is, instead of judging, accept it and have compassion around it, and you'll be able to get that ability to go up to the bigger place and say, why would this mess be taking place?
Yeah.
And it's sad. I mean, you can drive down the streets of Manhattan and everything's boarded up. It's heartbreaking.
Mm.
But at the same time, when you can step beyond that and you can look out and you go, wow, but you know what? Manhattan has always been the place of where everything grew from there.
Hmm.
So if we have to wipe that slate clean,
Mm.
don't we want to bring in the new,
Interesting.
starting from a clean place? So
Interesting.
instead of judging the people that may have destroyed it, we can thank them because they just cleaned the slate.
Hmm. Yeah. Fascinating.
And
Now, you had mentioned something that kind of caught my ear, and me and other people might be wondering. You said this pandemic also brought out and sort of brought out to light the lies
yes,
within society. Would you like to go into that? I mean, that might be a little bit hot. That might be a hot
No,
topic.
not really. It's not
But
hot for me.
okay.
So
so
in other
so
words,
what do you what?
when I talk about societal lies,
Yes. What do you mean
there
by that?
are many, many, many
Mm,
belief systems that we
yeah.
created. We
Yeah.
created these lies. We as a society, not
Okay.
not one party or another. We're all
Okay.
in it together, whether we like it or
Okay.
not. We're still in oneness. So
Yes.
we created these lies,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe they're not lies, but they no longer serve us.
Okay.
And some of them are lies.
Okay.
And and even the lies that you tell yourself,
Mm,
like you tell yourself, well,
yes.
I really don't mind this job, but yet you're walking around half dead because you spend most of your time at a job that is tearing your life apart. That's a
Good
lie, right?
point. Good
It's a
point.
big lie
Yes.
that you
Good
told
point.
yourself. So we tell
Yes.
ourselves a lot of lies. We tell people around us, oh, how are you doing? I'm fine, I'm fine. And I'm going, no, you're not. You know? So is that not a lie? Right. So even that, like, oh well, we're okay, we're all so happy that we got to stay home during this pandemic. Are you really happy you got to be home? So it gives you the opportunity to say, where is my truth? So
Mm,
one of the reasons I wanted to do that exercise earlier with the light of being in your truth
yeah.
is, if you look at a moment in time where you were so happy, whatever you were doing, it was just all happening and everything was falling into place because you were enjoying what you were doing. And if you can be in that place all the time,
Mm,
then you're unstoppable. But you
mm,
have a big fat lie that says you can't be happy all the time. There's one of your big fat lies, right?
mm,
A big fat lie that you can't be healthy all the time.
mm,
You can.
mm,
A lie that you have to age. You don't have to age.
mm.
These are beliefs that you choose to believe in.
Interesting. Yeah, I've heard, I think the stats something about 80% of people, maybe even higher, are not really happy with their jobs.
Correct.
People just kind of go through the motions, but they're really not fulfilled. And to
Well,
imagine so many people really not connecting with something that they do day in and day out.
mhm.
I mean, how sad is that?
Well, that is attached to those big fat lies that, like, well, as long as you make a lot of money, you should
Yeah.
be happy. As long as you have a steady income, you should be happy. As long as, and
Mm,
and then the lies continue. No, you should be happy when it's feeding your soul, when it feels
mm,
good at the end of the day. When you get
yeah.
in bed and you don't say, I'm exhausted and I have 10 more things to do, but you get in bed and say, I made a difference in someone's life.
Mm. Just sort of continuing this because this is really interesting. Um, the pandemic also has created really a lot of disruptions in society, not only individually. So, what would you do? You have any thoughts on some of the lies in society that the pandemic has also been exposing? Do you have any thought? Do you want to mention anything about that at all? Because it really is a really societal, global, even
Well, I
global
mean, okay, so I'm not going to, without
issue.
judgment, I'm going to give
Yeah,
thanks to it, because I
yeah,
feel that we gave away a lot. We did it. We gave away our power to a lot of we gave our power away to the medical field. We gave
mm,
our power away to pharmaceuticals. We gave our power away to insurance companies, to politicians. So
yeah,
we gave our power away. And the pandemic is, again, everything will be exposed in truth. And the
mm,
truth is, we had the power the whole time and we didn't want to step up to the plate and take it.
mm,
And that's what's really stirring up inside of you when you're getting upset at all of the things that are being unveiled. What's really being unveiled for you is that you give your own power away when you don't want to be responsible for what's happening within you right here and right now.
mm. Fascinating. Yes, I think for me, one thing that was really startling is what's been happening with the whole CDC.
Right.
That being influenced by the government, and they not being able to state what they feel is objective knowledge, and so that was really eye-opening to see that kind of influence, political influence, on something like the CDC, which people really kind of look to as a source of unbiased information.
Well, I believe the whole purpose of the pandemic is so that we can see everything
Yeah.
and take back our power for everything, so that we don't rely on anything but our own intuition, because your
Mm.
own intuition tells you everything. We allowed them to poison our food forever. Why the
Yes.
FDA, is raking in the dough to call themselves, the Federal Drug Administration, the food. They
Yeah.
weren't there. They were there to collect money. They weren't there to make sure your food was safe. They weren't there to make sure your cleaning supplies were safe. And now the whole thing with the vaccines and all that, it's finally coming out. The people that said vaccines were no good were crazy.
Mm.
And now people are going, I'm not taking that. I'm not taking that flu shot next time.
Mm.
They make that pandemic shot. I'm not taking that shot, because they're
It's
taking
very,
back their power.
it's fascinating. Fascinating. Yes.
And
Well, we
again,
could talk
I
about,
feel it should be a choice.
yes. So this is an amazing topic we could probably talk about for a couple of hours.
Right.
But getting to kind of our main topic, because at this time people are wondering, Vasiliki, how do we remain hopeful and joyful like you during these pandemic days? Because now, you've heard about this pandemic fatigue. People are already tired out. They are so exhausted. They're tired of being inside their home. They're tired of, all the negative news and press. And to
Okay.
hear that this could go on another 6 months to a year, it just makes people really very, very depressed and very, very kind of uptight. How would you suggest that people remain joyful and hopeful, knowing that this could really go on for a much longer time?
Okay. So what I recommend is, the first thing you do is you step back and you realize that it's all part of a bigger plan, and
Mm,
don't get connected to the little plan,
mm,
and go on a detox from the news. It's
mm,
not real. There's no truth to any of it. So why are you watching a soap opera? It's a story. They're selling stories. And if that story is a negative story, why are you choosing to resonate with the negative? Instead, utilize that time to build your strength, build your spirit, and
mm.
build who you want to be. So
Yeah.
the time that you would spend listening to anything negative, use it to do something positive. Surround yourself with positive people. Surround yourself with positive actions.
Mm,
I see many different groups. I see one group that said, hey, I'm going to take this opportunity. I've never had a garden. I had a garden this year. Now I'm canning, and they're having a great time doing it. Right. And then I
mm,
have the person that I can't get enough of my psychiatric medication. I can't stay in this house with these people much
mm,
longer.
mm.
Well, where do you want to fit in on that?
Yeah.
So if you look and you surround yourself with positive things, and you're willing to give the world, if you stop and you say, okay, so the pandemic was a reset. It's a
Mm,
huge reset.
right.
And eventually you're going to have to be a part of that reset. So you might as well jump on board now. And the
Yeah.
reset is to live in a place of acceptance and compassion. So they're
Mm,
going to keep throwing more and more of these crazy drama stories at us until we finally go, you know what? I accept it. I have compassion around it, and I'm not going to be a part of it.
mm,
It's not my monkey. It's not my tree.
mm.
Here's me. Here's my world. And I'm going to create what I want my world to look like.
Interesting.
It's
Yeah.
an awakening that we're all co-creators. So you can decide, you can be anywhere and be happy. It's happiness is a choice.
Mm.
And you can choose it at any moment of any day, but you have to stop and remind yourself of that. One
Ah,
of the things
powerful.
I have chalkboards all over my house, and I am forever putting positive affirmations on them.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I had one that said complaint free zone, and it was not for everybody else. I was detoxing from complaining. So, again, we detox from the news, we detox from complaining, because every time you complain, you're reliving what you didn't like already.
Mm,
So, why relive it?
yeah. Okay, Vasiliki. So somebody might listening to you mention. I mean, by the way, I do agree with your wonderful truth about happiness is something that we could really live every moment of every day. But
Yeah.
somebody listening to you might say, well, Vasiliki, that sounds wonderful, but what about somebody who, you know, is in the hospital with COVID, who's, on a respirator? How can such a person, be happy? Or let's say, if your parent is in the hospital and they're, fighting for their life, how can they be happy? What would you reply to, those kind of individuals? Because, some people are going through that.
Okay, and absolutely they are going through that.
Yeah.
So what I say is that for every situation, if you ask the divine, you'll get an answer.
Mm.
So if someone is in the hospital and they're struggling with COVID, they're on their journey. And again, one of the big fat lies is the big fat lie that death should be sad
Mm.
and that death should be painful. Death does
Interesting.
not have to be sad and it does not have to be painful. Death is a graduation day. It is birthing into somewhere else. So whether
Mm.
you're birthing into this dimension or you're birthing into another one, shouldn't we learn to shift and be happy for that? And what I
That's
was
good.
also told by spirit is that people that chose to check out from COVID, especially in the beginning when so many people were leaving all at the same time,
Yeah.
they had signed up for that. They
Mm.
signed up because when someone crosses over, a big vortex opens. And when that vortex opens, there's a whole bunch of transformational energy that comes through when you're leaving your body and ascending.
Mm.
And that energy stays around for anybody that's around that's close to that person, taps into that energy. This is why when people lose loved ones that are close to them, many times they make drastic changes right after someone dies
Mm.
because they've been showered with that transformational energy. So this group that chose to come together and all leave in a very short period of time created this big huge vortex of transformation so we can transform from the old to the
Interesting.
new. So what I say to
Interesting.
people that lost loved ones, and I did have to counsel people that had loved ones in the hospital, that I sat and held their hand in a parking lot because they couldn't go inside the hospital to say goodbye to their loved one. I was there for these things. So it's not that the things in my life are always rosy, but I find the beauty in it all. And when you can find beauty, you can find happiness.
Wow.
So when you see that your loved one was a warrior, was someone that was willing to do this at this time to help us to get to a better place, how beautiful is that?
Wow, that's a powerful message. Powerful message. And that just exactly goes back to right to the beginning when you mentioned you are a healer of spirit,
Right. It's all about the
right?
spirit.
Because, yeah, because this is exactly what we need. We need that message that
Mhm.
we are more than our bodies, we are more than our minds, even,
Right.
because
Right.
that's where we are so stuck, it
Yes.
seems. We're totally stuck in that. And when we're stuck in that, then death is like this horrible beast, this horrible monster that none of us can really escape.
Exactly.
But when you say what you say, Vasiliki,
Mhm.
suddenly there's an opening. There's an opening to see that horrible, quote unquote, horrible event in a totally different light.
Correct.
Fascinating, fascinating, wonderful, wonderful. It also kind of reminds me of, you heard about in the early Christian days, these martyrs,
Hmm.
being fed to the lions, and they were not, supposedly, I
There
wasn't
was
there,
no fear. There was no
but
fear.
yeah, they weren't fearful. Even they might have been joyful, I heard,
Right.
right? They might have been
Right.
joyful because they were like, I'm going to go and meet my maker or what have you. They had this total faith, this
Hmm.
total spirit that really transcended life and death, which is that's it's really unbelievable
Hmm.
to have that, but it's possible. I mean, that's the
Absolutely.
possibility of the human spirit.
Absolutely.
So wonderful.
So, Jayla, you brought up faith, and I would like to speak a little bit about that.
Okay.
That when we speak about faith, we're speaking about the strength we have to believe.
Mm.
So whether it's to believe in yourself, to believe in a higher source, or to believe in the person sitting across from you, when you worry is the lack of faith.
Mm.
So worry is a messenger to reflect and look at, if I'm worrying, what is it I don't believe in, and change that. So if you're worried that about not having a job, then go back and say, no, I'm really worried that I don't think I'm good enough. And let me work on that. So worry is a messenger. It's not something that you should hold on to. It's not something that you should let rule your life. And many have, we hold on to this belief, and it's a silly one, but a belief that, well, if I worry, it won't happen. Yet what we think, we create. So
Yeah.
to hold on to the belief that you worry so that it doesn't happen is actually helping to manifest it, to make it happen.
Wow, that is such a powerful message right there. That's such a powerful message, because so many of us, 99.9% of us worry. We worry ourselves to death, and we know that stress is connected to something like 80 to 90% of diseases.
Absolutely.
So right there, Vasiliki, what you're mentioning could help people with their health so much just by overcoming worry.
Correct.
And having some faith. And I just really, this is such a wonderful message you have there about the lack of faith being connected to worry. And so many of us don't think about that, even though most of us are Christians, right? This is a nation of Christians.
It's not,
but how many of us have faith?
It's not really about religion. It's about spirituality. So there's many roads back home.
Yes.
But it's embracing and connecting with the road, believing in the road. It doesn't matter.
Yes.
You can believe, you can believe in a toad. It's whatever you believe in, it's great if you if you can really believe in it.
Yes.
Because and it's not just believing. Remember, we're co-creators. So we can believe in God, but we have to believe in ourselves. So many times the worry that we have is that we won't be strong enough to get through it.
Yeah.
So if you're finding yourself feeling overwhelmed in worry or really stressed and afraid of your future, stop and do some inner work on believing in yourself and knowing that no matter what's going to happen, and yes, things are going to get sticky. From what I hear, things are going to be really sticky astrologically till January. So that's planetary. It's not even about politics. Politics is just a little gift to stir up our stuff. So, but from a planetary place, we are all being called to go inward and look at what we don't want in there anymore. We want to call it our darkness, but yet we want it to be so dark that we don't have to see it. Yet you want to take that light and you want to go, what's in there? Come on out, because I want to be happy. Because it's your darkness, right? It's your fear, or it's your trying to control your fear that's going to keep you from that happiness. And then the fear creates the worry and the stress, and that creates the illness. So just roll it all back and say, I'm going to believe in me, and I'm going to believe in whatever I want to do today. I'm going to believe in that, and I'm going to believe in it so strong that nothing can change my mind.
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. That's a very powerful message. And I'm sure some people are dying to ask you some questions. Is there anything else that you really want to say, or should we go to the questioning?
No, I love questions, so I'm ready to
go. This would be great. So everybody, if you want to put on your video, Vasiliki has really, mentioned and shared such powerful messages. Really, just wow. If you really listen to some of the things that she's saying in terms of spirituality, in terms of overcoming fear and worry, very, very strong medicine from the medicine woman. So now let's take a chance. If everybody would like to put on their video, does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask Vasiliki? A beautiful chance here, a unique chance, unique opportunity. Don't miss this. Anybody?
Anyone? Oh, I'm trying to think of.
Okay. Michelle, did you want to ask a question?
Yeah, well, not a question, but I know I've had a problem. I have bad arthritis. So arthritis is an autoimmune disease. And I've always had a habit of self-sabotaging. Like sabotaging myself and everything. I once was attending this class to become like a word processing operator, right? And one night came along and it was a really, really nasty day. And I didn't want to, chance going in. I was afraid that, I wouldn't be able to get in. I'd get stuck on the expressway. I wouldn't be able to get transportation home, and I called up to cancel it to see if I could tell them what was wrong, that I couldn't come in. I couldn't reach anybody. And the following day, I missed the class, and they wound up dropping me from the course. And I said, well, that was just an excuse. I'm sabotaging myself. I like to destroy my every chance that I get, opportunity I get. I like to find a way to destroy it or to sabotage myself somehow. And it's kind of a manifesting itself through the arthritis. I'm lucky that I got off with the arthritis, and I don't have Parkinson's or Crohn's or anything really life threatening or really serious.
But Michelle,
Yeah.
it's what you just described that's caused the arthritis.
Yes.
Like the autoimmune, it's like you're folding in on yourself. You're like,
Exactly.
no, just stay right here because you'll be safe right here. And if we're broken, we don't have to move. We don't have to do anything. So it's like a gripping fear.
Yes.
So what I would really recommend is that you really spend some time finding where you can anchor your faith. And then when you have faith, when when I go to do something, I'm like, I know spirit is by my side. And if I start to get nervous about what I'm going to do, I'm just like, what am I nervous for? You're here, right? Good, let's go. And maybe get comfortable with pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, because comfort kills your passion. And without passion, we have no life.
I know.
Okay,
It's like
wow.
you get to the point and you're comfortable with it, and you get to the point where you want to move out, and you want to be
Start with
in
baby steps. Start with baby steps, knowing that don't let the arthritis be your reason. The arthritis is really just a symptom. It's your messenger saying, you're crippling me. Your fear is crippling me. So step into saying, wow, hold on a minute. How do I get through fear? You get through fear by walking right through it. You get up one day and you just say, I'm done with you, fear, and I'm going to prove to you that I can do this. I think I was about maybe 23 years old, and I got this message to write down all my fears. And then the next message came, and it was, now go face all of them. Wow. It was, and you know what? And I tell other people to do that today, but I'm a little bit kinder on them than I was on myself. So what I'm going to tell you, Michelle, is come up with 3 things that you're afraid to do, and then go do them. And I'll just share, ones for me was like, to sit in a restaurant. I'd rather starve than sit in a restaurant and eat by myself. And I went and did it. I did it with sweat coming down my brow. And then I realized, wow, it's because I thought that it meant that I was a loser. I had nobody wanted me if I had to go eat alone. And I, and when I broke through it, I realized that what it was. And I still don't like it, but I can do it. So I'm saying just little things.
I could start by going to the post office. I wanted to go to the post office to mail in my absentee ballot. And I'm always afraid that, there might be a crime about this. Somebody might rob me. I might get into trouble. I might not be able to get an Uber back. There might not be any available rides. I might get stranded.
So I'm going to give you, Michelle, I'm going to give you a little homework assignment. I'm going to send you to the post office. I'm going to send you to the post office, because I know that you're going to be safe. But before you go to the post office, I want you to use a little tool I call the what if tool. So you picture, you just sit there and say, okay, so if I went to the post office, what if there was no Uber? Well, then I'd call a taxi. What if there was no taxi? Then I'd walk. Well, what if you walked? Then you'd get tired. Well, like, until you finally realize how silly the fear is. And then say, okay, I'm just going to go do it. You can get to the point, well, I could get hit by a car and then I die. Okay, so then you're dead. Now it's over.
I know, but I have birds to take care of. I can't leave them here to die.
And again, okay, so put them in the what if too. They won't die.
I'm sure right over
somebody,
there.
I'm sure somebody will come and take care of them.
I can't die. Cannot happen to me. I have to take care of them. See, they know.
Well, then don't worry. See, then you know that you're not going to die. You can go to the post office, because you have to come back to take care of your loved ones. Got to take care of them, right?
Yeah.
Wonderful,
See,
wonderful.
They know. They hear them. They know.
I can hear them.
They're saying, Michelle, don't die, don't die.
Exactly. They're saying,
Stay
Michelle, go to
happy.
the post office. There's a life out there.
Also, Michelle,
They
you could
understand
also
English. They really understand English. I think so sometimes.
you could also put your absentee ballot in the mailbox. You don't even have to go to the post office.
No, don't get her off the hook that easy. Michelle, go to the post office.
Because I just put mine in the mailbox the other day.
You know what,
Anyway.
Michelle, I'll make it easy for you. Michelle, call an Uber and tell the Uber driver you want to go to the post office and back.
Well, I'll try that. And Bob, well, I don't want to keep giving excuses, but Uber has no phone number where you can reach them.
Okay, well, call a taxi then. Call a taxi.
Yeah.
Call a taxi and tell the taxi you want to ride there and back. And then you broke the ice. Now you did it once, it'll be easier the second time.
Well,
And then come up with 2 other things you can do.
Whether I can charge the ride online, if I could charge it, if I could charge the
You know
ride.
what? These are all things you can figure out. They're all going to be part of your journey. You can call, you can ask the taxi, you can look online. Google gives me all my answers. So tell yourself, I refuse to let this fear keep me from putting that ballot in. Got it?
All right. Yes. Okay. Michelle, you're on fire now.
I'm
You
on
can do
fire.
it.
I'm ready. Who's
And-
next?
Yes. Thank you,
Thank you.
Michelle. Okay,
Thank
so we
you,
have
Michelle.
Allison.
Thank you for asking. Thank you
Allison,
for sharing.
Allison, do you want to
Vasiliki,
ask a question?
Hello. Just wanted to say first, thank you so much. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Lovely to hear you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
It's so
And
nice to
that's a
see your
whole
smiling face.
Yay. And Chris, do you have a question?
Yeah, I guess so. Like during these crazy polarized times, I'm waiting, we just want this damn election to get behind us. And, it's so polarized. I mean, I've never seen anything like it where the groups are just so black and white against each other without any camaraderie or mutuality. And I guess the question is, I'm just waiting for that day to be over and then the smoke to clear, like Hiroshima to end, and then me to peek my eye out and just to look around. But the question is how to best process this in an inclusive, loving way in order to get to where the hell we're going. Excuse my French. I thought you might have some wisdom regarding.
Okay, so Chris, you have to step back and look at this. That they're doing a great job. They're doing a really good job at stirring all our stuff up, because we all had all this stuff in there that we didn't even know was there. So it's going to stay polarized until we really get it. So once you realize, first of all, it's giving people the opportunity to have a voice, because people that would have said nothing are now all of a sudden blurting things out. And people that didn't see a lot of the corruption are now saying, wow, that corruption is real. It's there. And another thing is even the news, like the news has been nothing but negative and untruths for years and years and years. I gave up the news 30 years ago. I didn't just give it up now. And people are starting to see that. And when people finally wake up and see it, they're going to create something new. They're going to create things out of truth. So we have to keep letting all the untruths unfold. So the worse it gets, the more we cheer. Yeah, look at this stuff. How crazy is this now? And then you have to be happy to know that it's doing its job. I say all the time, everybody out there, they're all great because they're all doing their job. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, it's making us engage. It's making us see our stuff. Remember, we created them. So if you can remember that, and if you can look at each one of them, and this is a hard one for you, Chris, look at them and say, what part of me do I see in them? Like, where do I don't have any of that, but we do, or it wouldn't be happening anymore. Every one of us, me included. So really use it as a spiritual tool to find out more about yourself. And for me, I feel like the biggest gift is to really learn how to not judge. Like I thought I was so not judgmental. Boy, am I laughing at myself now. I'm judging this and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to judge, And so again, if you really want to get to that higher plane, right? If we want to put on those God glasses, I call them, where we can see what everything's happening, you have to be able to do it without judgment. So if you can look at this whole political, whatever you want to call it, and not have judgment around it, you're like, wow, I made it. I'm there. So it's all about being able to be in your energy and your space and not be affected by the others. So just know that it's doing its job. However it affects you, look at it. Don't look at them, look at yourself. And just know that it is going to be over, but it's not going to be over in November. Not by all means. It's not
No way.
And who knows how it'll turn out, but it's giving us all something to talk about. It reminds me of the soap operas when I was young. People would come to school and they'd be talking like, who are you talking about? And they're like talking about someone on, I don't know, One Life to Live or something like that. And you would think they're talking about their best friend or their sister. Well, that's what we're doing now with politics. So it's giving us all something to think about, and it's giving us all the opportunity to see the different parts of ourselves. And soon enough, it's going to make a big change. But remember, we're in transition. So it's just like cleaning out that closet and the whole house, gets turned upside down. The world is in transition, and it's time to empty out all the closets, let all the chaos come out, so that we can shift to a whole new way of living.
Love it.
Yay. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else have a question? You want to raise your hand if you have a question, please? Anybody else? Okay, Jeff. Jeff, go ahead. You want to unmic yourself?
Hey, Jeff.
Very quick question for you, Vasiliki. Is one thing I know that I very much have tuned into and connected with your ascendancy and your vibrancy, and I love it about you. Yeah. And it's a journey that I've been on for the past 2 years myself, since my wife had passed. And I know that for myself, as I've done it, one thing that was a very big challenge for me was to experience myself inside fully in the process. What has it been like for you? How do you experience yourself in that process?
I'm not sure. Can you clarify that a little bit more? I'm not sure what you're asking me.
What do you feel inside as you're during your vibrancy, as you're ascending, as you're imploding your energy out to the universe? What do you feel inside?
Again, I'm not really clear if I know.
I think what Jeff is mentioning is, how do you experience the state of, of connecting, of transcending, of being spirit, of being spirit? Because when Jeff mentioned that he lost his wife, I think he went through this kind of transformative journey, and he experienced that in a particular way, and he's wondering how you experience this kind of open-heartedness, open love, open, transcendence of spirit. Is that kind of what you're asking, Jeff?
Within yourself. Within
yourself, yes.
So within myself, as I mentioned, I had that even as a kid. So I always was happy and always just loved everybody. And even during hard times in my life, I always had the gift of being connected with the divine. So even during hard times, I was always carried through, and I did not have an easy life. I promise you. I grew up poor, and there were times I went to bed hungry, and I went through an ugly divorce, and I was a single mom for a while. I mean, I had a lot of things happen in my life. It wasn't easy and rosy, but spirit was always there for me. And it's when you have one of those deepest, darkest moments that that the shell is broken off, and that you really connect with spirit. And when you get that, it's like everything feels lighter, and your heart just
empower your sense of self.
Yes, and all of a sudden you become, I call it fearless. It's not that you don't have fear, but fear doesn't stop you. So you just have a way of saying, I'm just going to go do this, and it's going to work, or it isn't. And then when you get to that place and you're willing to be open and you allow spirit to come in, I mean, everything just expands, and you just go into almost like a state of ecstasy. And you can't help but to love. even when I have people that have, what I can say wronged me, I still had love for them.
Mm.
I've had people steal money from me and I still had them sit at my dining room table. Come, you can't be alone, sit down. But I took $5,000 from you. It's okay, the money's gone. Now sit down and eat.
Mm.
When you can get to that place, when you let the divine come in, then you let the love flow out, then it's much easier to always be happy, because you're not connected with the anger, with the envy, with the resentment. So you just can always let that love come in, and just knowing that the more love that you give out, the happier you feel. You don't have to look for love outside of yourself, because you are love, and as it just flows, that's when you're part of the divine. The divine just says, let it flow. And as that love is flowing, you're feeling so good, everybody in the room is feeling good, and you're like, everybody just stay forever. That's what that's my description of connecting with the divine.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Love that kind of distinction that you made there, Vasiliki, about fearlessness doesn't mean that you don't feel fear.
Right.
It's moving through it.
Mm-hmm.
Moving through it. And I think that's really
right.
a very inspiring sort of idea, because sometimes we think, oh, we can't feel fear if we're fearless, but not necessarily. I mean, even I heard the Buddha felt fear.
That's right.
It doesn't mean that he gave into his fear, right? He was fearless. Yeah. Great.
We all have fear, but it's kind of the test that we create for ourselves.
Mm.
So
It's a great distinction.
Just so I can push myself through it.
It's a great distinction that fearless does not mean lack of fear. It
That's
means
right.
your fear.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We all have it, but we want to push through it.
Yep.
That answered your question, because I wasn't sure.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Fab.
Okay.
Very good. I think we have maybe time for one last question. Anybody else? A last question here. This is it. This is a valuable last question. Anybody at all? Okay, I cannot see all the participants. If anybody does have a question, just put on your mic and you can ask away. Anybody at all?
Oh, I have my turn.
Yes. Anybody else at all? Okay. Very good. I think I did not see anybody here raise their hand at all. Dana, are you raising? Is that a hand? Is that a half a hand there?
Sure, kind of. I was just kind of wondering,
okay.
How do you detach oneself from the suffering? Meaning, like, when you see other, I mean, we all suffer in our own way, but like when you see other people suffering, how are to not get weighed down by it, and to kind of just be in your own, whatever it is, your own light, or to bring yourself back into your light and remain connected to the divine when you see other people suffering?
Great question.
Okay, so the only way not to attach yourself to the suffering of others is to understand suffering itself. And I'll share my story. At one time I worked in a doctor's office helping severely disabled children that many of them couldn't even swallow for themselves. And it was just so difficult watching them suffer, watching them die, and they were all very young. And I went into a sweat lodge to try and find out, how do I get through all this? Because I just felt like I couldn't do the work anymore. It was just too painful. And spirit did not come to me. The spirit of those children did. And the spirit of the children said, what's your problem? We signed up for this and we're here doing our job. You do yours. And I was like, huh? And they're like, yeah, each one of us signed up. We all have an assignment. We all came here and we don't mind the suffering because we're receiving love during that suffering. And that we're being supported by both sides. So when you can see someone suffering and you can understand that their soul is growing from it, or someone that loves them soul is growing from it, then you have to find happiness in the growth of the suffering. So even, sometimes when you see, someone's dying and their loved one is sitting there crying, you have to know that that loved one is crying, but they're going to grow from this, because we all grow in a loss, right? So and they're learning how to be strong, and they're getting to look into all the different parts of their life with that person that's suffering. So again, it's really taking suffering to a whole different place, to understanding that. And sometimes people suffer because there's life lessons in the suffering.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's Vasiliki, what you're mentioning, that is such a powerful point. Again, this is, she's doing such a wonderful job of just like cutting through, right? Cutting through our delusions, cutting through the illusion of seeing things from a different angle. Normally we're trapped in the suffering. And Dana, what you asked was a great question. And also it kind of reminds me of, supposedly Saint Francis mentioned like one of the most joyful things that he could think about happening to him was to be despised and hated and kicked onto the side of the road in the name of God or in the name of love. So for him, that suffering, he was able to transform that kind of suffering into bliss, which is kind of hard for us, like, what?
Right.
But he was able to transform that suffering into bliss, which is, it kind of boggles the mind, but that's exactly what Vasiliki is mentioning. It's hard. It's kind of hard to wrap the mind around that. But when you're talking from spirit, as Vasiliki is, then it all makes sense.
I just want to say two more things about suffering, Dana. One is, many people suffer when they're getting ready to transition and to leave their body, so that it can help the other person let go, not just themselves. And so that when you can see that, you can understand that suffering is just part of the process. But then when we see people that are suffering on a day-to-day basis, people that aren't dying, but they're just suffering, and there are many people out in the world right now that are suffering, that is when I say, go into your light and share your light with them, because the suffering is that their spirit is so wrapped up in a ball and in the dark that it feels like it's broken and it's in pain. So that suffering, you can help them by sending light to them. And knowing that you sent that light will help you feel better.
Thank
Fantastic.
you.
Fantastic.
You're welcome.
It's wonderful, Vasiliki, that you were able to share from your own personal experience of working with those kids, because that's probably one of the most difficult situations to be in, is to see suffering among children.
Yeah.
Because they seem so innocent, like, what did they do? And it's really terrible. And so for you to get that message, that profound message, and to be able to break through that is like, you could probably break through anything now.
They also reminded me that we're not as old as our vessel.
They're not, okay.
That stop looking at me as the 3-year-old or the 7-year-old. Remember that my spirit is much older, and that my spirit is a wise old soul that's okay with this.
Interesting. Well, thank you so much, Vasiliki. This has been an amazing evening. You shared so much with us. With your wisdom, we can definitely take on this pandemic and not be afraid. Realize we are spirit. So you've given all of us hope and light within this time of darkness. So thank you so much.
Thank you, jLTg. And thank you,
everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Yes,
thank
and
you. I love
thank you
all
all of you for joining us. And so Vasiliki, so if they want to connect with you, or learn more about your teachings, I think you're going to have a Qigong website coming up as well, or something.
So a couple things I have is, the first thing I will share with you, that every Monday at 4:00 I do what I call a breath break. It's some breathing and meditation on my Teaching Spirit Retreat page of Facebook. And that is my way of helping to support people going through tough times during the pandemic.
Fantastic.
And you can get more information about me at my teachingspirit.com website.
I got it.
And I also offer classes on Wednesday evenings, which you can get the information off my website. And I offer overnight retreats, weekend retreats, and I do hourly sessions on Zoom or in person.
Fabulous, fabulous. So please check out her website. And also you're doing a new Qigong type of
yes,
video.
Mind to me. Yes, I have, during the pandemic, my partner who's on here somewhere, Chrissy, and I have put together, it's called Breath of the Ancients, and it will be coming out in about a week. It is a paid membership site for, we have over, I think she said 50 Qigong videos that we made during the pandemic. I have some other transformational programs that you can get on the site. And if you get in touch with me when we do the grand opening, when we launch it, I will be giving out a free week trial. So for anyone that is interested in Qigong, which is an amazing healing and transformational tool, just sign up for my newsletter. You can get to me through teachingspirit.com, and I'll send you over to the website when it goes live, and I will gift all of you 1 week free trial.
Beautiful. Wow. Okay.
Thank you.
That's
all.
a great offer. Thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful night and be well.
Thank you.
Okay, you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you so
Good
much.
night. Good night.
Thank
Good
you
night.
all.
Bye-bye.
Night. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. It was
Bye-bye.
so nice to meet you, Jeff.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.